Good morning, Stellar Nations family. This is Ophelia from Mount Shasta in far, far northern California. Yesterday's message from B and Nico about Niome's watchful presence and the effects that are playing out with the conjunctions and astrologies and cosmic cosmologies between the 1st and the 7th of November. And it's all about life reviews. And as she says, our life reviews carry each moment of our present life and also of the past lives in our karmic history, with all the thoughts, feelings, motivations, and acts included in the perspective of each participant involved. It's a chamber of mirrors. I would just like to share a little bit that was asked of me this morning, and I do it reluctantly sometimes, but yet when I'm told to do something and share something, there's probably half a dozen people that I have no idea about that are waiting to hear something specific in the code of the dialogue. Because we live in a world of codes. We are a code. We are a multiples of codes. And that is exactly what our charts are when we get to see our relationship to the stellar nations and our soul families from multiple directions. As you get older, you start looking back at your life. And one thing the nations have helped me learn is that the more I look back at what I was doing in the past and how it unfolded, and then look at my chart and solar return and natal return through multiples of years, then I start to see how, even without my knowledge of the stellar nations from prior to 2017, even without any of that knowledge, the nations were absolutely working throughout my entire life. And what I am able to see now, the more I learn, and I only know just so much of a little smattering of it in relation to some who have been with B and Nico for such a long time, I can see how very specifically a nation will be playing a role, a very significant role, or just a very small, an interval in my life at any particular moment. And then a couple of years later, that interval will be spread out into something much larger because of the influence of the solar return and where I am and how all of this plays out. When I was early on my journey, and back in the 70s, which has been my entire life, quite frankly, I always wanted to ask questions. Now, how do you know? How do you know? I want proof, I want proof, I want proof. And of course, most of the teachers or the guidances I had just looked at me and laughed and went, you'll get it one day, you'll get it one day. Yet I find that these days our world is so much more complicated, in as much as it is very difficult to be able to discern through people and information what is really true, or what is correct, more likely, for the times than ever before. And I think that's part of why I am being asked to share my perspective or how I learn something, so that others can use in their way, in your unique way, how you learn or how you see things or how you question. It's going to be different to mine, and that's perfect because we are absolutely unique. Yet, when you know yourself from your chart, whether it be a standard astrology or human design or gene keys or anything, any other modalities that you use, and then you intersperse it and with the stellinations on top, you are getting the same answers but from different perspectives. And when you can start really resonating with that, that's when you start to understand the depth of who you are. Not just a little scratch on the surface, but there's way, way more. All of this has really helped me, knowing myself, help me understand other people and other circumstances, and whether it be individuals, families, or the world at large, and what is truth and what is not, who is saying this and who is saying not. When I started doing my healing work, I was shown very strongly to go and look at the body in a completely opposite way. And I challenged that guidance. I said, no, this is not right. It's not in the books. And they went, suit yourself. And of course, every time I didn't listen to what I was being shown, what I received was incorrect on my end. So it was when I gave up and started to see how very subtly most healing modalities of ancient beginnings and then have been turned into modalities or teachings for our current now, whether that be in the last 50 years through now, many things have been tweaked to be not quite correct. And so it is like you sometimes are listening to a radio station that is slightly out of tune. And after extended periods of time, you get to hear that's as normal, when in fact it is not. And so I question everything from those beginnings of learning and being shown that not all is as truthful as one is being shown, and that is part of the manipulation of the spiritual alternative healing modalities and energy work and sound healing and all of those things that are coming into place. And so really deeply knowing yourself and is so crucial. And the nations, as deep and as involved and as sometimes confusing as it is, keep wading through it, but then look back at your life, significant moments in your life, whether it be some life-changing event, whether it be a health issue, whether it be something that you can really pinpoint of how and what it made a significance in your life. And then feel what you find inside. Look at your natal chart, the houses and the astrology and the meanings, and then see how you can feel who was at play and what nations were at play during those events long before you even knew about the nations. And it might take time, it might take practice. It did with me, even with my, per se knowledge. I still have to go slowly through it and go, oh. And that's part of why I'm sharing and just sharing this dialogue, because that is what this message told me this morning, that life reviews. And you don't want to wait until the day, the end of life, to go into your review and go, oh my gosh, I wish I'd known beforehand. Part of my curiosity of life reviews is about karma and our karmic connections to our families and to other people. And so in 2000, and I think it was 19, I asked B and then Nico if they could do charts, natal charts, for my father, my 2 sons, and I had mine. And so I put them all together, and I wanted to know what our connection was. And my mother had already passed, and because we were all here, I didn't include her, but I'm going to get one for her so I get the new picture. Yet what I did is I took all those charts and I made my own chart of where the 4 of us met, so to speak. My father was born April the 1st, 1922, and he passed on Christmas Day last year. I was born in March 49. My older son was born in December 77, and my younger son was born in September 81. The amount of nations and stars and planets that we had in common, all 4 of us, was to me remarkable. And what it did, it showed me that we indeed had a karmic lineage that was played out through the galactic Milky Way. It spanned. My father was born in England. Myself and my older son, were born in Australia, and my younger son was born in the United States. How did these 4 very unique soul presences come together with their parents, my parents, my sons, my husband and myself with my sons? The journey is remarkable, and it is this amazing web. And when we start looking at this amazing web that grows and grows and grows, understanding why we chose our families sometimes is really, really hard, because it's not all milk and honey and love and light. There are many dark passages that people go through, and you wonder, why did I choose this? You didn't choose it on this level, this physical level. Your soul chose it from the past incarnations, and like the little chapters that you've saved in your soul for this time around. And that is part of why I love the nations, because they take me into the multidimensional memories that I have in my cells. And they are the parts that are being reactivated for memory now, for me to physically feel. And if you want to call that the intuition, it's really, to me, it's the memory of your cells and soul being activated. To go, aha. Somewhere between 2012 and 2016, when my art was working, the image that you're going to see was one that amazingly came from the male line of the serpents. I didn't know that at the time, but as I look back at what that was all about and the influences in my chart, I see this design and I see the other mandalas, and I know exactly that the Melchizedek line was absolutely guiding my hand and my knowledge as these paintings and geometries unfolded, and I had no idea. I'd never done anything like this before, and they appeared on the page. I share this only as an example of how in the real world the nations will show up at specific times for you to get a very large aha moment, and then other times they will be very subtle, and you go, you have no idea, and which one it is, and what star system it is, and what planet it's going to play, and on what house it is. All of that is sometimes way too much. However, patience, and time, and a great desire and willingness to be curious and to keep delving. The more you learn and grow and seek and be patient and curious and willing to look beyond that which is perceived to be obvious, look beyond the veil, so to speak, of your perceptions of knowing, and then step out in nature, find a spider web, and just start looking. Look at the fineness and the beauty and the precision and the uniqueness that Niome is revealing to you. And as you look back at all of your life experiences and in your review, be in gratitude that you are right here. Be in gratitude that all of the nations have found you and have allowed their wisdom to come into you. And now another journey is beginning.